In your corner of the world, the things around you might be very interesting, but what if you wonder what's beyond that? Mountains give good views, but the furthest a human can see while standing on ground is only 540 kilometers, according to these two mountains. But that makes sense for Earth being a globe. Maybe one day you've gone outside, looked down at the grass and dirt, and wondered, what's down there? For 79% of people, ocean. And it's night. Ni hao you. Wait, it's China on that side, right? Anyways, you and this bit of ocean are antipodes, 2 points that are exactly on opposite sides of the planet. Not everyone is opposite the deep sea, though. 15% of land on Earth is opposite fellow land. Standing in New Zealand, looking down, or up, you might be looking at the desert in Spain. And it's night. On the other side of the world, it is the opposite time, unless it's the North and South Pole, which are notable antipodes. I don't know what time they use. I also don't know how to see through the Earth, so it might be helpful to get an outside look. For that, we must go to space. Actually, rocket fuel prices are through the atmosphere these days, so we must settle for this. Look at all this ocean. The Pacific has its very own half of the planet. Maybe now your aquatic antipode makes more sense. According to this globe, now we can determine that if you are standing in Tasmania, you are opposite to this exact fish in the Atlantic Ocean. At least I think so, because it is quite tricky to see the other side of this, so I upped the budget for a 3D model. This is Earth with an overlay of where land would be if projected on their antipodes. Their latitudes are inverted, and longitudes have a difference of 180, so if you dig straight down from the northern hemisphere, you will come out in the southern hemisphere. The Earth has a circumference of about 40,000 kilometers, so each antipode lies a mere 20,000 kilometers apart. Straight away, North America is in the Indian Ocean, and Africa has gobbled up the Pacific Islands. Australia and New Zealand are sometimes known as the Antipodes by Europe, but that is only really true for Spain and Portugal, as both sides yet again end up in the ocean. Between Southeast Asia and the reversed South America lie two bits of ocean, which here means the coasts are antipodal. On both sides of the planet, these points are all part of the Pacific Ocean, which is so large it actually does span half the planet. It is also where the antipodes of all of Western Asia are devoured. Right in the middle of it is Point Nemo, the place on Earth furthest from any land. Its antipode is this place in eastern Kazakhstan, which is not far away from the place on Earth furthest from any ocean, and both are very equally far from those things. Maybe that is enough ocean for now. The largest landmasses antipodal to each other are eastern China and Mongolia opposite all of Argentina and Chile, and most of Southeast Asia opposite bits all over northwest South America, with bits between Spain and New Zealand. On both sides of the planet, these areas are home to over 1.65 billion people, 21% of Earth's population. Aside from this land just being land to land, it comes with many interesting things. If you were a monkey living in Borneo, you could be opposite another monkey. Most humans don't live in the jungle or desert, however, and with cities being everywhere, there are many that are quite close or sometimes exact antipodes. Zoom in. Enhance. Most land still isn't city, but quite a few line up very close. Over in other Formosa, Taiwan Formosa. Sorry, they're antipodes. Taipei lies opposite Asuncion in Paraguay, and over here, Christchurch corresponds with A Coruña. The largest combined population of two exactly antipodal cities is just over 2 million people, in Palembang and Neiva. There are a lot more near antipodes than direct ones for inhabited areas, where cities are a few dozen or more kilometers away from being antipodal. From all the way up here looking all the way down there, that difference is really hard to tell. It is beneath my feet, thus is on the other side of Earth. I would also say this for land masses, and not because an aquatic antipode is inadequate. If I was in Nova Scotia, the antipode is ocean, but if I look a few degrees to the side, there lies Australia. That looks quite the other side of the world to me. It could be considered cheating, but for most landlubbers it makes things interesting. If you could make an X-ray of the Earth like what I have here, you can see all sorts of places, maybe not opposite, but at least really far away. What rules are there? You could even dig across to the other side of a hemisphere at an angle, and I think it would still be the other side. We are dealing with Earth, which is really big. The land-to-land antipodes are also the only proper locations where making an Earth sandwich can be done. Since the Earth is slightly wider at the equator, the summit of Mount Cayambe in Ecuador is technically the furthest point from Earth's axis. While not directly antipodal, its antipode is quite close to Mount Kerinci, the tallest mountain in Sumatra. If you don't mind a 1-degree wonky sandwich, it is here that you can make the largest Earth sandwich at 12,764 kilometers tall. To do that, you would probably need to take a flight, otherwise your bread would go moldy. There are currently no scheduled flights between two near antipodal cities, however, as the 20-kilometer range of half the planet is not very available, so you would need to stop midway as usual. The theoretical perfect antipodal flight would be between Tangier and Whangarei airports, about 20,002 kilometers apart. Whangarei's runway is a bit too short for an airliner of that sort of range, but I believe it is still possible with the utilization of mid-air refueling. Anyways, that's Antipodes. Subscribe. Now that we know what is down there. What's up there? By the way, where the heck are we?